Hi guys, it's Happy Sunday. Um, I am going to start a new series. I'm not sure how many videos I'm going to put in it, anything like that, but it's going to be on different subjects as I go through. And I am doing some research. Not as much as I'd like because I'm trying to get my cookbook typed up, so it might take a little bit longer. But um, with all the tariffs and stuff, there's some people that are really freaking out. Over prices and availability and whatever. A lot of those um, tariffs haven't taken effect yet. So some have from China and whatever, but a lot of those haven't taken effect yet. So maybe there's some things that we can do that can help us before they do. And, if you buy a bunch of Chinese stuff, well, hopefully they'll hammer out a deal too. So my goal is in this series is to help us save money in the kitchen. And if I can find other ways to save money on different things, then we'll do that too. My number one thing before I get into any of this is prep. In 2019, how I always have prepped, but not to the extent that I do now. But Tom had teased me about toilet paper. He's like, why do we always need 2 packages of toilet paper ahead and blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm like, I've just always done that with that and paper towels and so many other things. Well, COVID hit. And we sincerely were down to our last roll of toilet paper. And I couldn't get it anywhere here in Lansing. I mean, everybody just flogged the stores, and I don't know why, if they even needed it, anything. I had to end up driving to Charlotte to get a package of toilet paper, which is 25 minutes away and then 25 minutes back. And I told him never again will I catch myself in that situation. So we have a case of toilet paper downstairs that we got at Sam's, and then I buy toilet paper. So every time I get down to, whatever, then I buy another package. And so I have like 8 on my shelf, and then I have a package in my cabinet so that it's always there. And then we've decided once a year, then we'll pull out the case, buy a new one, and, use that up. I don't know if toilet paper ever goes bad, but, we'll use it up once a year and go get another one. So not only by stocking up do you save a ton of money, because guaranteed whatever you buy today is going to be more expensive in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it happens to be. So I was looking at a video and I thought it was so cool. And I thought, I need to share this with you guys. So this is forgotten cooking hacks that can make things cheaper in our kitchens. I didn't write all of them down because some of them I didn't think really would play too much into nowadays. But maybe. So this first one, I was like, yes, I already did that. It says, create your flavor base, mirepoix. That's celery, carrots, onions. You can cook it, you can freeze it, and then, or you could can it, because those are the onions, carrots, and celery are the main things to a lot of, your soups and stews and whatever. And they say it saves 30 minutes off of your prep time just to have that done. And if you boil that stuff, you just have to parboil it to freeze it. You don't have to cook it all the way through. But if I'm going to cook it, I'm going to can it, and then I can use it. Now, I don't have leftover bread because me and Tom don't use a lot of bread. I know people are like, you need to make bread. I do have gluten issues. Sometimes it doesn't bother me for weeks. And then sometimes, like the last few weeks, it's really bothered me. And it puts me in a lot of pain. And so we don't eat a lot of bread. But I do buy bread from my squirrels. I spend about $2 a week. I go down to the bread store. But it says to save your ends so that you can make breadcrumbs and that you can flavor them however you want to. Because breadcrumbs are actually, for that, little jar that you get, I think it was like almost $3. So you can save money. But I thought, even though I don't eat a lot of bread, when I get low on breadcrumbs, why couldn't I just go buy a 50-cent loaf of bread or a 25-cent loaf of bread at the bread store and make up a bunch and put it right in the container that I use to store mine now. Okay, so Perpetual Soup. Now this was a good idea. So you make a soup base of whatever you want. And then when you have leftovers, they used to add and add and add and add to the soup. So that by the end of the week, you think that, you're eating the same soup for leftovers. No, you're not. You keep just adding stuff. So let's say one day you had leftover pasta, so you throw that in there. And as you go along, the soup changes. And so does the flavor. And so you're never eating the same thing twice. I thought that was a great idea. This is something I've been doing a lot of lately because, I used to just go out and buy that spice or that, bottle of whatever I needed. And you know what, you guys, it gets so expensive. And if you go into the store, then you end up spending so much more money. That's where I do like home delivery, because I pick what I want or what I need, and then I'm not going, oh, that's great. Oh, that's on sale. Oh, I save myself a lot of money. So learning substitutions, like white wine vinegar or white wine, what can you substitute it for? Do you know you can substitute it with vinegar? You can substitute with a whole bunch of different things. So you don't need to go buy that bottle. You can actually look up and type it right into your search bar. What can I use for a substitution for sugar or whatever it happens to be, and it'll show you what the substitutions are. So that's one that I found that is really a good idea for saving. It said you can save $200 a year by doing that. Meat extenders. Now I decided I'm going to do a recipe this week with rice and with my canning, and it won't be what it was intended for, which I'm trying to do that anyway. But lentils, for ground beef anyway, lentils, beans, grated vegetables, and mushrooms will help to extend so that you don't have to use that full pound or 2 pounds of burger or whatever it is, and extends what it is. So I'm going to use, this week, I'm going to use rice to extend what I have canned up. Regrow vegetables. You can do green onion, celery, bok choy in water. I need to have my daughter-in-law. She is so good at that with the green onions. Every time I do it, they turn mushy. So I'm going to have her show me how to do it perfectly, because hers turns out great. And garlic and potatoes you can put in the ground. And, if you don't have a lot of space, they have those round containers that you can actually plant potatoes in. And honestly, those work better for us than the great big, above bed grounds that we had. We did them in, laundry baskets, everything else with, plastic over them so they didn't go through the holes. And it worked out better than what our raised beds did. So you can replant those things. Blanching and flash freezing can save $1,500 to $3,000 a year. And what it is for fruits and vegetables. So like when our blackberries go into season, or in other countries does, and they send it here, a lot of times we can get those blackberries two for $1. So when that happens, I go buy 10 or 15 of them, and I freeze them, because I use those in Tom's little things with his yogurt. And I get a bunch of them, I put them into a baggie, and then one container usually will do all 5 of his little things in his jar. So when you see something like that, if you flash freeze it or you blanch it, they will last for months and months and months and months in your freezer. So I'm not much on flash freezing, because if it sticks together, I just pound it on my counter, it comes apart. So I'm not too worried about it. But that will save you a lot of money a year. When corn comes in, I should have, if I had the room, I would have, while the corn is on sale, there's one place actually in town that's 5 for $1. I just really don't have room in my freezer right now for it. But if I did, you can stock up on corn on the cob. You know what I mean? So use those seasonal things to stock up. Tenderizing meat by buying less expensive meat and marinating it. That is one thing I never thought about, because I know, okay, I like, I can't even think of the name of steak, but I like that kind of steak. And, I thought, I remember when I first got on my own, we'd always buy Denver steak because it was the cheapest. Now even that's expensive. But it says by marinating or, doing different ways, cutting it differently, whatever, you can actually make it more tender so that it will taste better than the more expensive meat. That's something I need to try out. Beans and lentils, try to use those a couple of times a week instead of your meat, and you will save about $800 a year. That's a lot of money to save. I'm not a lentils fan, but I did do sloppy joes with them once, and they were pretty good. So maybe if you make it into something that's more saucy or savory, it might taste a little bit different. And beans, I'm beginning to love them, so that's not such a bad thing for me to do. This is another one, and I'm out of my hamburger spice and a few things I'm running low on, but I do all my taco seasoning and stuff like that. Make your own spices, because they say on that you will save $300 to $500 a year, because if we go out and buy each individual spice in those little packets or the spice container or whatever, that costs a lot of money. Learning to make your own stocks and broth so that you can actually freeze or can them, and you will save $200 to $250 a year. So these savings, they're saying a year, but if you break that down, that really saves quite a bit. And thanks to you guys, I learned about saving my end pieces and stuff on things and keeping it in the freezer until I'm ready to make those. You can get a hold of, if you have local butchers, and see if you can get some of the bones, because actually some of them will give them away for free. Here we don't have any local butchers. I actually have a customer that's a butcher, but he's like an hour and a half away, and he doesn't do beef, he does pork. And so I can make ham stock instead. So if you have a local butcher, maybe they will give you the bones for really cheap or free. Preservation. Before refrigeration, they always did fermenting, curing, pickling, canning, and smoking, and curing. And fermenting and the pickling is so amazing for your gut health. So that's why I've been trying to do more, because with all those antibiotics, it really threw my stomach off. And they really do help. And I never thought I'd like pickled beets, but you guys, I've already ate 2 plates by myself. And we're growing more radishes and hopefully, I think turnips and beets, so I can do more of that. I love pickled stuff. We don't eat a lot of pickles, but the other stuff would be great. And then they had this thing called leftover transformation. Saves, we throw away about $118 a year of just things that we don't use, the leftovers or whatever. We very seldom have leftovers, and if we do, Jack takes them home, and then he has them for lunch the next day. But if we have a lot, you can pack it up and put it into freezer containers to take to work or have for lunch, whatever it happens to be. Or you can turn that leftover into something else. Because, like during Thanksgiving, we have turkey for a week, right? There's only so many things turkey sandwiches you can eat. So that's why, like, I made, turkey this, turkey that. And so that you can make that one main dish into a whole bunch more. All right. So now it says, learning to store your fruits and vegetables will save you $300 to $500 a year. And that's something I want to look more into. I know that some things that, if you add water to it, or if you do this or you do that, that it will last a lot longer. So I want to look more into the research on that so that I don't have things going bad or going to waste. Because food waste sucks. It really does. You go spend a couple dollars on a head of lettuce and you throw half of it out. You know what I mean? And so we want to prevent doing that. I have enough critters that, believe me, I can throw it out my window. It'll be gone that next day. So we have skunks live in the garage next door. We've got, what do they call those, woodchucks that live underneath my shed, underneath Jack's shed. We have raccoons. We have possums. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But I try not to put anything other than bread outside my window, because I don't want every creature eaten here. But I did see a ground chuck, or whatever they're called, go around my corner the other day, and me and Renee were talking about it. If we could have just a garden that says, okay, this is yours, leave the rest alone, that would be great. Um, and they are destructive, and they will eat your garden like crazy. My son found that out in the backyard here. But, like, it was at the end of the season, so we were done with tomatoes anyway. But that ground chuck, or chuck, whatever they call them, he was sitting there, and he would look for a red tomato. He would pick it off, and he'd eat the whole thing. And he's on his hind legs, you know. And then he'd look through for another one, and then he'd grab it. And I go, you know, they might be destructive, but you got to admit they're so cute. Because they are. Another thing, one day batch cooking. Like right now, I just boiled up a bunch of eggs. I'm going to have, you know, I send one a day for Tom. And then, you know, I want to make egg salad for myself for lunch. So you could, you know, do up a whole chicken and then make different things as you go along. Or if you know you're going to have potatoes during the week, you know, boil up a big thing of potatoes, cut them how you want, store them in the refrigerator, and use them for the meals for the rest of the week. Master the art of the kitchen scrap garden. So if you can do like my grandparents, and it was so funny because Renee said something about putting a bucket up. She has chickens, so they'll eat everything. But she used to leave this bucket. It was probably about this big around. It had a handle on it, and she'd leave it by the back door. Anything that was left over, you know, she would throw in there, and then she would just throw it out into the garden. And then, you know, when you're tilling, so I guess it's their way of, you know, I don't know, like fertilizer, you know what I mean? But when they tilled up the ground for the garden, it all got tilled into the dirt. You can do that with your eggshells, all different kinds of stuff that you can put. We have raised beds, so it's a little bit more difficult, but we've never used fertilizer on anything that we have. We don't do it. And then another one I never thought of. Learn to use your flour, your all-purpose flour properly. There's, you know, like bread flour, there's this flour, there's that flour, whatever, and you can make your all-purpose flour into a bunch of different things. And if you sift it or do this to it, do that to it, you can make it do a lot of different things, and you don't have to buy specialty flours to do it. Another one I want to try to get into, but I have mustard and ketchup and stuff like that downstairs already, and I have quite a bit of, you know, Miracle Whip and stuff, but making our own condiments by scratch. And I thought about that, you know, once I get the A1 done, you know, there's recipes for that. But, you know, I bought 2 because you can save more money at Sam's. But you can do things like that and make your own salad dressings, which I have done, and they're pretty good. Master the use of using every bit of your vegetables. We lose 14% of our food every year by not doing that. So there you go as far as like, you know, using them towards your broth, or, you know, it even said how you can peel the stems of the broccoli and put those into stir fries and stuff like that. I never thought of doing that, but you could save money. This is one I'd have to work on. Whole animal cooking, like organ meat and everything else. You can save 30 to 50% off by doing those things. Like our exchange student, she loved cow tongue. I didn't touch it, I didn't cook it. She says, it's a delicacy, it's so good. Might be, but just the thought of it grosses me out. Like we have a corner store up here that they'll sell pig's feet and all those kinds of things, and it just, the thought of it kind of grosses me out. But you know, there are organs that are, you know, like the heart, I guess, makes great stew meat. Things like that. If you could use more of those kind of meats, they will save you money. The problem is with that is, you know, once the stores figure out we're saving money and not buying that high priced meat, they'll raise that stuff up too. Because I remember liver used to be dirt cheap. Like dirt cheap. Now, not so much. This is one I do truly believe in. Like, I've got my menu plan for next week, and I think that proper meal planning is an essential. I mean, that is really something that you need to know. So I place an order on Sundays for my entire, what I want for the week. Now, if I need more fresh things and I'm not going to have it till the end of the week, I might put in another order, but That's not the case this week. So my order came to $13.92, but I had to buy yogurt for Tom to put the fruit into. So I deducted that from there because that's his lunch. So this week, for everything that I have planned, has cost me $11.16. So that's not bad for a week of cooking. Learn to cook recipes. Learn to cook without recipes. Hence Chris's creations. You know, our grandparents, they used a lot of cookbooks and stuff. You know, you had the church ones and whatever, but have you ever looked at the old, Betty Crocker ones and stuff? Oh my gosh, you guys, there's 30 items to go into one thing. And I don't know about you, but my grandma was more of a salt, pepper. I don't even remember her using garlic powder, to be honest. But she was more of a salt, pepper, flour, sugar, brown sugar. You know what I mean? She didn't use a whole lot of stuff. I don't even remember her using garlic, to be honest. But anyways, there's so many things that we can create. So I have a challenge for everybody this week. I got my grocery bill down to $11.16 because I'm going to use things from my freezer, things from my pantry, and things that I've canned. So go through your freezer, and maybe you have a small piece of beef that you didn't use all of it up. Maybe make a stew with it or a soup with it or whatever. Make a meal plan, and when you do that, think about the things that you have already. I don't want to dwindle my stock down to everything. I'm not telling anybody, nor would I ever tell anybody to do that. But you do have to rotate anyway. So think about things that have been in there, quite a while that you need to get rid of. Not get rid of it, but, use it up. And that's why you'll see me, okay, it's like I have these fries and we're going to do this with it because, I need to get them, rotated out of the freezer. And like today, Tom's out working outside, getting our backyard straightened up, but something got into our greenhouse and it tipped over our table. So all of our plants that we had in there are now part of the ground. And it actually moved our whole greenhouse over. So I don't know how much greenhouse use we're going to get this year because, yeah, he's trying to fix that right now. But go through your stuff. And let's say you only want to spend $50 on groceries. The easiest cut in your budget can be with groceries if you build a pantry. So think about those things that you can save. If you bought celery, save the end there, save the tops, whatever. I guess there's so many things you can do with the greens to your beets and stuff like that. And that's stuff I need to look into as well. Don't freak out. Take a chill pill. Don't let all these channels go, oh my gosh, it's going to be like this forever, because it's not. Things will work out. Every country needs to survive, including ours, and they're all going to come to the table, and eventually China too, and we'll be fine. We were told there was going to be a little bit of pain, and there will be, but then there's going to be hopefully prosperity. I mean, even if you're not a Trump supporter, all we can do is support our country or your country, whatever president, premier, whatever it is. Even if you disagree with everything they are, believe that you hope that they're taking you into a better direction. And that, if they say there's going to be a little bit of pain, there probably will be. But let's hope and pray that we can work things out. And as a world, they wanted all this globalism, but let's make it fair globalism so every country can survive and succeed. And, for us in the U.S., it's going to hurt for a minute. But it'll be fine. Don't let people scare you. Don't let people tell you it's too late to prep or learn little secrets like that. It's not too late. You can start today. Even if, I forget who it was that commented, even if you buy 1 can a week of something, you can build that pantry. And then I had another idea too. Like, obviously, grocery stores that we have here in Michigan are not going to be in, well, Meijer goes all the way down to Kentucky or Tennessee, I think. But anyway, there's a lot of them that are in different states. So if you guys run across a great sale on something in your state, and it's in other states as well, make it in comments as when we do these programs so that other people that are probably in your state can say, oh, I didn't know that. And they can run to the store and they can grab it. So let's help each other out. I mean, not every sale needs to go on there, but if it's something really, really good, like blackberries 2 for $1, let people know where they're at so we can help each other out. Because, you know, we make success farther along if we do it together. Just remember that, you know, whether it's, you know, these hacks or things I'm going to come up with for future videos, we're in this together. You know what I mean? We truly are. It doesn't matter what country you live in, what state you live in. If we all don't succeed, we all fail in some sense, if that makes sense. You know, united we stand, divided we fall. And that's not just in our own countries. And I think with all the stuff that's going on right now, that's standing more true than we've ever known. So I will be back for supper. You'll get to see Tom cook with me, and it's a really easy meal. I know I say that all the time because I don't like complicated. But it says it's a hubby winning dinner, and so we're going to see how he likes it. And thanks for coming along with me yesterday. It was so nice to get out of the city. You guys, I don't know, unless you've grown up in the country, and like, we lived in the city since I was like 8. And then I moved back up when I graduated from high school and then came back down here to get married. But, you know, the city eventually feels like the walls are closing in on you, if that makes sense. And I just felt stressed and whatever. And I told him, I says, I just need to get out of here. And in the summer, I will go to the lake and I'll lay back and hear all the boats underneath the water and everything, you know. And I ground really, really well. Like, I don't know. I must have been a fish in a past life or something. I don't know. But sometimes there's those few little things that help to relax you and to get you kind of, you know what I mean? And so that helped yesterday. And I gave Renee a big hug and I said, thank you for saving me. But she does want us to come up again, and she wants us to stay the night. And she goes, you and I can cook this, this, and this, and this. And she had all kinds of ideas. And she goes, we'll do videos on them. And I'm like, that's fine. We didn't want to stay up there last night because we thought the person staying at her house was staying in John's room, which that's where we slept last time. She goes, no, we redid the upstairs. She goes, she stays up there. And I'm like, ah. So we will go up there again, and then you'll get to see videos. She wasn't all dialed up yesterday. That's why she didn't want any video on her. So, yeah. But you got to see her indoor kitchen, which is really, really nice. I told her that would take up my entire backyard because our yard is only 50 by 100. So it's really small. Put the house there, not much room. Anyways, I'm rambling. I will see you tonight for supper. I hope some of these ideas will help you to save money. And, excuse me. Now allergies are going to kick in. But anyways, hopefully you can save money and get some ideas. You guys have a blessed day. Be a blessing. I love you. See you tonight.